Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DJ Spotlight here on Disc Jockey News TV. We're talking to Winnipeg own DJ Torn. What is up, my man?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's so good to be here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It is so great to have you. I've been able to go to a couple of your events and I can't wait to hear more about you and the things that you've got going on. So let's start a little bit about your journey, some key points in your career that brought you to where you are today. Can you share a bit about your story and your introduction into dance music?
Sure. So music has always been like a pretty big part of my life, whether I necessarily like consciously noticed that or didn't. I've always just been making music like ever since I was really little. I kind of started going through the whole like school band program and I learned a lot of like instruments that way. Played a lot of like saxophone, the whole spectrum of saxophones. Got into a bit of like electric guitar, a little bit of rock band type stuff when I was a bit younger. I just kind of started learning some instruments that way. I've always kind of really liked electronic music though. I don't know. It's just, I remember like I have pretty vivid memories of listening to like dubstep on my PlayStation Portable. And I don't know, it seems like at some point in my life, like the electronic music kind of dissipated and then just kind of came back somewhere later on around now, I guess, or the past few years where I've kind of been pursuing bass music and such like that. Basically, at some point, I don't know exactly when, I torrented my first DAW. It was Mixcraft Pro 2, which is a very odd digital audio workstation. It's not anything that anyone ever uses. I don't know how I found it. It was just like a Windows option because I didn't have GarageBand. I wasn't on like a Mac or anything like that. And I just kind of started messing around with that a lot, recording like instruments that I had already known how to play, singing, not very well, but trying my best. And eventually I kind of, I guess, stumbled across the internet and YouTube, and things kind of started to mesh in terms of like music and just putting things out there and creating content. So I kind of got my first taste of like viral success when I was kind of like remixing viral YouTube videos to music and then kind of like riding off viral videos waves to get like views and stuff like that. But there was this one remix I did where I basically just took some silly video of some woman saying some phrase that went viral and chopped it up to some other beat and then put it out. And then overnight, I was mind blown because overnight I watched the numbers climb from 0 to like 100,000 overnight. And that was just insane to me. And like, it felt so cool to be able to like reach that many people. I didn't even really fully understand it, but I think that definitely, I don't know, it sparked something in me to want to create more content and put more out in the world and just kind of like see what happens. So that's kind of how I ended up starting to make music, I guess. I kind of came from that place of like making music for the internet, I guess. It wasn't necessarily like I was strictly focusing on a brand or any kind of specific sound. It was just kind of creating music to make music. And yeah, I mean, things just kind of went from there. I kept on producing and eventually I kind of went through this whole journey of discovering different genres, trying out different things. And I kind of landed myself back at bass music, which has always kind of felt right to me. So it's kind of what I'm doing now.
Yeah. I had no idea about that. We'll have to link that video because now I'm so curious and I'm sure everybody else is going to be like, what is this? And then eventually, Hectic Events came along. I'd love to hear more about that, the concept behind it, the people helping drive it. Like, why is it so important to you?
Okay, so man, there's a lot of different topics that I can kind of touch on with Hectic. To start off, I guess what I should say is where it kind of came from is, for me personally, before I got into like DJing, before I got into producing, anything like that, I was like a raver, a festival goer, an attendee, right? I was there to experience the party. I wasn't behind the decks. I was on the other side. And I just remember one of the first experiences that I had was that I had being introduced to the Winnipeg underground kind of music scene. Was I had this group of friends and they took me to like an underground warehouse rave, and I was just blown away. It was my first experience with anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. Like the atmosphere, the people that I was connecting with, the music that was going on, everything just was incredible and mind-blowing to me. And when it comes to like throwing events, that's something that I really strive to recreate for other people. And I love to create that moment for other people and to bring people into this kind of completely different world, completely foreign to so many people. They don't even know it exists, but then you bring them in and they experience it for the first time, and their entire lives have changed. And to me, that's really, really exciting to do, I guess. I just want to say also, it's kind of an interesting story how Hectic was like founded. So basically, it was created by myself and my co-founder and co-owner Noel, also known as Noel Dubs. We run Hectic together, and it's interesting because we actually met just a little while before we decided to make Hectic, and we met on the road to a music festival in Kitchener, Ontario, Ever After Music Festival. I was supposed to be going with another crew, with some other people going to this festival. But last minute, some plans fell through and I didn't have a ride out there anymore. And so I just started, messaging around online on Facebook saying, hey, is anyone going to this music festival? Can I hitch a ride? And I ended up stumbling across Noel and his crew, and they welcomed me in. We drove out there. It was however many hour drive. So we got plenty of time to bond. And we kind of ended up just kind of talking about how, we love bass music. We know there's a community of people in Winnipeg who love bass music, but there just really isn't the support for those kind of events in Winnipeg. Like, no one's really pushing hard bass music. And that's something we were both really passionate about. So we said, let's try it. Let's try hosting some events and throwing down some dubstep and see what happens. And I think it's been going pretty well so far and just kind of been growing.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things I noticed right away, is that there was so much drive and passion behind these events. And hearing this story from you, it makes so much sense. You can see it with the crowd of people that you're bringing out that are supporting. It was actually really nostalgic for me to witness, especially the one at OV, because that was the first. Well, it wasn't OV back then. It was like the D Machine, but it was like the first club I'd ever DJ'd. So it was really cool.
Oh, wow.
There. And it was really cool looking around and seeing all these people because, like you said, there isn't a big push for bass music in Winnipeg, and it's kind of gone through its waves throughout the years. But I really notice just so much love around what you guys are doing. What do you think people outside of bass music might misunderstand about the scene?
I like this question. It's I think it is a pretty common misconception that like bass music, it's so like dark and sinister and evil, and we're all like aggressive and it's high energy and we're all smashing our heads everywhere and like punching people and throwing elbows, right? But like the bass music community in Winnipeg, I can't necessarily speak for anyone else, but like the bass music community in Winnipeg are some of the nicest people I've ever met. Like, just like any other EDM subgenre or whatever you want to call them, like, everyone in EDM in general follows the plur culture, right? Peace, love, unity, respect. And that's something I, follow a lot as well, even as like someone who's into the bass music scene. Even though we are kind of like sinister type people, We are still very welcoming. We love to party. We love to just enjoy each other's company. And I don't know, I think a lot of people probably look at what we're doing from the outside in, and they don't necessarily get it. But one of my favorite things to do is to introduce someone for the first time to like their first event and show them that it's completely different than what they think. Like it's just great vibes. It's a great atmosphere, and it's just people enjoying something that we all love and we all share as a passion. And yeah.
I love that. And I want to talk about your workflow in the studio, but before that, I just want to kind of bring that thought to an end. In the time that you've been in this game, you've really shown the amount of passion and drive and professionalism I feel so many of us in the industry could really learn from. You work with cats like Alex, doing videos, utilizing clubs like OV. Have you always been this ambitious, business-minded set, or was this a learned habit? Like, how did it come to be for you?
I think in general, I've always been like a hard worker, and I don't know how, maybe it was how I was raised or something. Like my parents instilled some good work ethic in me. But in terms of that kind of like that business entrepreneurial mindset, I think that's always just kind of been there within me, but it hasn't always necessarily come out in a type of like business salesy type of way. It's because like I love creating brands. I love creating a movement. I love making something and then just kind of pumping value into things, regardless if I'm trying to sell things or I just like to pump value into things and watch them grow and see how well they can do, and really just put my best effort into things. And I think that like the business mindset can definitely be grown. It can definitely be nurtured, but to some extent, I think I must have always kind of had it in me, because I've had a handful of small businesses or projects, you may call them, not the most successful things, but I've tried a lot of things. And I don't know, I think sometimes I just see something that I want to do and I just go for it and just make it happen, or at least try.
I love that. And I think that's so powerful, because we can get so inside of our heads. We just think ourselves out of doing something super creative. So I love that you do that. I love that you're being that example for other people. And speaking of creating, I would love to talk about what your studio workflow is. I always find this part really interesting, because everybody kind of has their own thing, but it seems like a lot of people also have some similar things that come into effect. So maybe we could talk about that, and maybe if there's been any like breakthrough game-changing things for you in production that have, I don't know, maybe created like an aha moment.
Well, one of the biggest things I've learned about production is that it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You're not going to become Excision overnight. It takes a while. I remember it's probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I told myself, man, I want to make an EP. I want to release an EP. And it's still been 4 or 5 years and I haven't released that EP because, I'm not quite ready. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to kind of like figure out your sound and what you want to do and where you want to go with things. So this is basically my bedroom home studio right behind me. Workflow for me is, it can come in a lot of different ways. It kind of depends on where the inspiration comes from initially and whether or not there is inspiration. If I, like, sometimes I'll just be doing something like, I don't know, like grocery shopping, and I'll have this idea of like a song that'll come to mind. And for me, it's really important to get that idea down or get it represented somewhere in some way where I can record it and then I can maybe recreate it later. So maybe I'll even like sing into my phone, or maybe just like beatbox a little in my phone. I don't know, something like that. But then, yeah, it's a matter of, it can be really difficult to take an idea and then to kind of execute and create and get to the end product that you want to achieve. But I find that, yeah, if you have some inspiration, you kind of have an idea that you can use to guide your decisions when you're in the studio, that often really helps. So I'll sit down, say I want to make a song about cars. going fast. Then I'll use that as something that, like, I want to make a song that goes fast, it has a lot of energy. Maybe I'll even include race car noises to allude to cars. I don't know. But yeah, working with inspiration like that can really create a great product, I've found. Sometimes though, it's nice to just kind of sit down and just kind of start making a beat. I've actually made like a handful of like entire songs where I just kind of started making like a hip hop beat. And then, you know, that turns into the verse, and then you just build on from there. And I'm going to put a build after this. And then after that, I'm going to put a drop. And then you just eventually have a full song. So I think there's a lot of different ways that I approach making music in the studio. And they all kind of yield different end products, and they all kind of, sometimes I like the end product, sometimes I don't, but in general, I don't know. It's just fun to go in there and just kind of create and just let things flow. I don't necessarily always have an exact end goal, and sometimes it just kind of comes out and just kind of flows the music, and that's how it works.
Isn't that interesting? I've talked to so many producers that are like, you know, the songs that I didn't think were going to do really well did, or I wasn't even trying, and then something happened. And I love how you mentioned, like, you know, it could be grocery shopping and an idea pops in my head. Like, I remember learning about this, about solitude, about like not being distracted by all the things going on around you. And I know for me, when I get like the best ideas, whether it's for like music or content, it's like I'm in the shower or I'm doing my makeup, and like I can't do anything but the thing I'm doing, so I'm focused on that, and then my brain calms down enough that all these freaking ideas start flowing in. I'm like, where's my notepad? I love that you sing into your phone. That's awesome.
Yeah, always trying to just get ideas down as fast as possible has been a big thing for me. And I one thing you mentioned, I didn't really talk on this, breakthrough moments.
Yes.
It's an interesting thing, because like, you think when you're learning how to produce and you're learning about music, you're learning all these things, that you're just going to get this one golden nugget that's going to like shoot you to the top. But like, it doesn't really work that way. What I found is there's actually like tons of little tidbits and tips that you can find out there that'll just slightly augment your game, slightly augment your production, or change the way you're thinking about something. And it's really just an accumulation of all of those different things that kind of allow you to grow as a producer. I don't think there's no like one thing that someone's going to tell you that's going to solve all your problems. It's just, you just kind of got to keep at it. There's tons of stuff on the internet, tons of information, talking to people and seeing how they're doing things. There's tons of ways you can learn. And yeah, I just don't think there's one breakthrough moment that you can really get. It's just a bunch of little ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you say that. That's very relatable. What is it? It's like climbing the mountain, and every time you think you're at the top, you're like, oh, no. So
yeah,
more
exactly.
to go.
Yeah, it's a very tall mountain.
Yeah.
I'm going to be climbing it probably my whole life.
Yeah. It's the Everest.
Yeah.
So to end this wonderful interview off, I know everybody wants to hear about when the next events are coming up. Any exciting projects you want people to know about? Mixes, let us know.
Well, for like myself, for Torn, I haven't actually put out any music in like 11 months. So it's been a while, because, you know, I've kind of been taking the past year, 2019, to really focus on production, kind of building and growing my sound and pushing it in different ways. That being said though, this Friday, actually, it depends on when this is being put out actually. But this Friday I'm dropping a new song, a new remix. It's just going out on SoundCloud. But then I'm super excited for 2020, because throughout the past year, like I said, I've been kind of working on some things, and I kind of have a couple of songs just kind of ready to go for 2020, and I'm super stoked to put those out there. So that's exciting. Otherwise, not too much going on for Torn stuff. Might put out a couple mixes along with that, some stuff. So definitely hit up the social media. In terms of Hectic, we are always kind of working to plan events, like constantly, literally round the clock, behind the scenes. We've got I can't really go too into detail because things haven't necessarily been announced yet or like locked in, but there's plenty of dubstep and plenty of bass music coming to Winnipeg, and I'm super excited about that.
Hell yeah. Well, we're stoked for that. We'll make sure to link everybody below with some goodness, so they can check out your music and also the video. Like, oh my God, Alex is amazing with video. He captures the moments at those events. So
great. Yeah.
Wow. And he DJs. So
yeah, he's coming up now.
Yeah, I just love how all of you guys are so creative and consistently working and encouraging one another. That is so badass, and I know that's why you guys are doing so well. And
I didn't really get to mention this before. Like it is really because of the entire Winnipeg community that Hectic is doing so well. It's not just one or two people that are like doing certain things, pushing certain things. It's like, yeah, we created this event, but it's the entire community coming together and bringing the atmosphere, bringing the right mindset and attitude, and just kind of being there for the music and supporting. And we've had incredible support. Like people just like telling us like, oh, we just want to buy full price tickets, even though you have early bird on, like just to support. And that just blows me away, because people really just want to see the Winnipeg bass scene grow.
Yeah. Oh, that warms my heart. And I appreciate that you say that. For the rest of you that are tuned in to this interview, let us know in the comments below anything that Torrin said that really stood out to you. Maybe you want to start throwing events, building your community. Maybe you're thinking about jumping into the studio, but you've just been talking yourself out of it. Don't. Just go straight to it. Just start these new projects.
Just make it happen.
Yes.
You just gotta go out there and try stuff. I'll be honest, I've failed a lot of things in my life, but the fact is I've tried them, and that's what matters. And that's how you get places. That's how you learn. That's how you grow as a person. That's how you meet new people. I just try things.
Yes. Oh, and I'm so stoked to go to motor review events, because the people and the team are just so phenomenal.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thank you for continuing to help grow our scene. For the rest of y'all, make sure you're really putting that effort and energy into building your community. And as always, don't let no one kill your vibes.
Yeah.